Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Jeremy Antonio Gunawan from the class Fluid Mechanics 3, and today I'm going to tell you and present about my final assignment using the topic how a cyclist's riding positions affect aerodynamic drag. So, every bicycle or every cyclist has to overcome wind resistance when we pedal forward. Um, we are going against the air, we are going against the wind, which is why we will feel air resistance. And most of the recreational bicycles where we use the pedal or our position on pedaling is usually we have very poor aerodynamic. That's why we have very different positions with athletes or cyclists, professional cyclists. So bicycle racers are aware of the problem that resistance gave the cyclists. So that's why they have been developing the best shape of the bicycle or the to change position or to change format of the team. They usually uh, strategize that in races or like Tour de France. They used it so they can reduce wind resistance and reduce drag also, so they can go even faster without giving much effort. So um, aerodynamic efficiency means that a streamlined shape that cuts through the air more smoothly enables the cyclist to travel much faster with less effort. So the faster the cyclist goes, the more air resistance the cyclist experiences, and the more energy he must exert to overcome it. So when racing cyclists reach higher speed, they focus not only on greater power but also aerodynamic efficiency. They rely on aerodynamic efficiency to um, make them go much faster. So aerodynamic drag, which is the force that's been holding them back or that's been resisting them from going forward, consists of two forces: air pressure drag and direct friction, also known as face or skin friction. So a blunt or irregular object disturbs the air flowing around it, forcing the air to separate from the object surface. So let's say we have a book, and we are throwing that book forward, and the air is moving through the book, not through, but around the book, and make it resist against the wind or the air. So low pressure regions from behind object results in a pressure drag against the object. So same with the bike. That's why we have higher pressure in front and low pressure behind. So the cyclist is literally being pulled backwards. Um, so streamlined designs help the air close more smoothly around this body, on the cyclist's body, and reduce more drag. That's why direct friction occurs when wind comes into contact with outer surface of the rider and the bicycle. So the objective of this project is to find how different position of cyclists affects the aerodynamic drag of the bicycle. So this is the formula for the basic aerodynamic drag. So in this case of bicycle, I will put the variables into bicycle terms. So the drag force is the one we will find the relationship, which means the force that's been holding the cyclists back, and the density is the air density, which um, actually it's the fluid density, but because we're running through air, we'll pick the air density. So the v is the speed of the object, which means the speed of the bicycle, and at the rate of which where the cyclist is going, and the cd or drag coefficient is a number that is based on the smoothness of the surface and the speed of the object. And A is the cross sectional area, the frontal cross sectional area that's going through the wind. So this part right here. And so to reduce this number, the drag force, which the cyclist is experiencing, we have to play with the variables right around here. So we'll try to decrease the number as much as possible. Let's start with the first variable, which is density. So air density is already embedded by nature. We cannot change the density of the air, but the only way to reduce the number of density is to go up in altitude. So when we are in sea level, when we are cycling in sea level ground, we can go up to the mountains to uh, feel less drag, but that's not convenient at all. So the next variable is speed. So speed is a really important aspect in cycling, or especially in races. So we cannot decrease speed to make less drag. That seems like a really bad idea because we will lose the race even if we are experiencing less drag. So that's not possible. So the next is drag coefficient. So drag coefficient is really hard to calculate or to measure, and it relies on the smoothness of the surface of us and the bike itself and the speed of which we are going. So it seems impossible to change this number. So the last variable is the cross-sectional area or the frontal cross-sectional area where we are going through the wind, and this we can change. So the less area um, we can position through the air, the less drag we will receive by theory. So this is three positions that are we are going to test. The first is the um, usual bystander cyclist position, which is upright. We usually cycle this way. The second is the more efficient, or the usually the professional cyclists use, which is the drops position. They arch their back into like a slanted 90-degree angle, and usually they use this position to win races. And the last position is the top tube. So this is really like even below the saddle, as you can see here. The body is below the saddle, so it results in much more or less area, but it's really hard to pedal in this position. So usually they use this position only when going downhill. So by counting the area of different positions, we can confirm that the area on the second position decreases by 20% and lessen the drag force with the formula by 14%, while the third position is decreases the area by 34% and resulting in a decrease of the drag force in 32%. So by using computational fluid dynamics or CFD software simulation, we can see here in the three positions, this shows the air velocity. So the white part means that it's going through the bicycle's velocity, and the blue part is going at like about 2 here, and the red part is going about 12, and so on. So as we can see, as the position lowers, we can see less blue colored section, or the slow moving region, um, which means that the slow moving region indicates that having a lot of blue colored region in the simulation means that um, it it affects the cyclist's speed as it goes. So having more blue colored region behind the cyclist is bad for the speed, as it results in much more drag um, for the cyclist to experience. So we can also see this from a three-dimensional view. We can see that this is a point in where the velocity is recorded. So we can see that the air is going through the head, the arms, the hips, and the legs of and the bike of the cyclist. So as the cyclist moves away, we can see that the velocity actually fades away, and we can see clearly an asymmetrical shape here as it goes on, and it changes. So this happens because the properties of the air moving towards us and the bike, when we will change our foot placement, or we will not stay still, right, as we go forward, and the pedal and our legs will, while pedaling, will not stay at the same place. So because we are changing our foot and pedals every second, So the shape of the velocity will change unevenly. So as we go on to the lower positions, we can see that the velocity fades even quicker, and we can see that the asymmetry shape is becoming more or less obvious. As we can see, this is totally obviously asymmetry, but here in the lowest position, we can see that it becomes much more symmetrical, but not asymmetry. But um, basically, it becomes less obvious to see that it's an asymmetry, because as our position lowers, uh, the region of the slow air, which is the blue colored region, is significantly decreased. That's why the bike's velocity has become more streamlined, and it's becoming into more of a line than a whole huge area. So the conclusion is that by changing the frontal cross-sectional area of the cyclist, we can reduce the drag force by a significant change. So we can simply we can simply say that getting lower on the bike as we go lower, closer to the bike, and we can experience less drag and hence even go faster. And experiencing less drag means that we can feel less air resistance, and that means we can move forward even further and faster without giving too much effort. So we can increase the speed while lowering the effort. That's the aerodynamic dynamic efficiency of the bicycle. So this is the reference that I got it from. I hope you learn something new and enjoy this my presentation. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.